Sister Pat, welcome and good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Good
It's
to be
early
with you.
morning for you.
Not too early. It's about 9 o'clock and the sun's shining. It's a good day.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for accepting this interview and to share with us some ideas, some feelings about the theme that the board has chosen for our forthcoming assembly as UISG. So, may I ask you, how do you resonate with the theme that we have chosen, embracing vulnerability in the synodal journey?
I really appreciated the theme, and I understand why the leadership of UISG chose this theme. Our own conference here in the United States, the Leadership Conference of Women Religious, has had some wonderful opportunities for contemplative dialogue on how the experience of COVID really has impacted us as leaders and as women religious. And I think the word vulnerability is at the heart of that type of impact. It is a vulnerability of the heart. It's a personal vulnerability, but it's also a communal and a societal and global vulnerability that we are experiencing. And I remember listening to your introductory video, and the word was used about that this vulnerability connects us to the rest of the world. And I believe that's what resonates well with our own experience, that this is certainly, the COVID experience is a tragic and poignant experience among our sisters, among our communities, and our ministries, but it is also a worldwide pandemic. And it does connect us worldwide with those whose access to good medical care, vaccinations, the ongoing boosters and experimentation that's going on with creating more medicines to help us. That's part of our reality, but it's not a global reality. So the vulnerability really is felt in our hearts for ourselves and for our own sadnesses and losses, but also for the sake of our world. I found the word when it was explained on the video, the word was to embrace vulnerability, but the phrase that was used was to embrace and to welcome this vulnerability with a tenderness. And I really appreciated that word tenderness because I do believe that is the call to walk with it with a sense of tenderness, to keep our hearts tender, to be gentle with one another, and with the repeating occurrences now of the variant with this COVID experience. So it really is an invitation as well as a witness that we give to our world, that we can be tender, that we can be gentle, that we can be poignantly aware of the impact, and yet at the same time, demonstrate that sense of interdependence with all people across our globe who share this terrible experience.
Yeah, we can really touch not only with our soul, but also with our body, what this interconnectedness means for us.
Yes.
So we can learn something from these experiences of crisis. Sister Pat, how do you experience vulnerability as a religious sister?
That's a great question. I suppose, both personally and as a leader, I experience vulnerability through the stories of others. I experience it certainly in my own life in experiences of sadness. And there is a lot of sadness connected to the COVID experience. We are a large community, and so each year, approximately 130 of our sisters die. So this morning, I received an email Sister Eleanor in New Jersey, passed away earlier today. That is a common experience for us, and it's a daunting experience to face death over and over again, to hold that sense of loss. And so when those emails come, and they do come as emails because of our expansive geography, there is a great reverence and a sense of gratitude for the sister's life, for all that she's contributed in mercy to us as her sisters, as well as to all those people that she touched in her ministry and in her community life settings. But there is a vulnerability. It's a capacity to continue to welcome this kind of sadness, this kind of experience of death. And again, it does link us to the suffering of our world, to all of those who walk with suffering daily, given the injustices and inequities that exist within our own cities and our own communities and neighborhoods, but again, across our globe, especially in those lands and territories who really do not have the same kinds of resources or the same kinds of capacity to respond to the suffering that they experience. So going back to your original question, I experienced vulnerability in those moments of sadness, and I also experienced them in moments of there's just no way for us to be in control. These are life and death matters that are way beyond our ability to fix or to address, or even in some ways to make sense of at times.
I'm very sorry for your sister. I think that as for you, also for other leaders, it might be a sort of daily experience to let it go. So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. It's interesting. What struck me listening to you was the first phrase that you said, that what makes you vulnerable is in a way is also the vulnerability of others.
Yes, very much
this
so.
is very beautiful.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And would you like to share with us an anecdote or an experience, a story of your life where you really experienced that from a situation of vulnerability, you and the others were able to let life come up from this vulnerability?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Our charism as Sisters of Mercy is to respond to need, and to specifically respond to the need of those who are poor, sick, and uneducated. And, during this time of COVID, we were asked to be safe, to isolate, to be careful, especially about a year ago when we were at the height of the COVID experience, even though right now we're experiencing another, sense of urgency around a variant. But Catherine McCauley, who is our foundress, when she founded the Sisters of Mercy, it was at a time in the 1830s in Ireland where most sisters were cloistered. So she and her sisters were called the walking sisters. And it meant that they were out and about among the people. And the experience of COVID really limited our availability to be out and about among the people. And that was a very poignant sense of isolation, frustration at times. Certainly many of our sisters who are in social services and in healthcare continue to risk and to be among people who were at risk, and felt the need to continue their ministry on a very consistent basis. But many of us were asked to kind of step back. So we looked for ways to continue to engage the stories and the experiences of those most impacted by COVID. And we certainly did that through, just our circle of relationships, wherever those may be, in in this country or in Central South America or in the Philippines, where we're located as well. And at the same time, we also took the opportunity, being a community who has adequate resources to take care of our sisters who are retired and ill, but to perhaps set aside some additional funds to assist in this process. And so we certainly resourced our ministries differently so that they might be able to respond to this pandemic and to this crisis. But we also provided the opportunity for our sisters individually to have funds made available to them where they might individually make an impact in one person's life, be it a friend of theirs, someone that they were ministering with, that they had been perhaps in email contact and they knew the kind of hardship that person was experiencing. And so it was interesting that it created a certain energy among sisters who were asked to kind of be isolated, to be careful, to engage a little bit differently than what they were used to, and to provide resources and to do some kind of exploration of where were the greatest needs in their own neighborhoods, and to provide the financial assistance that we were able to do at that time. And certainly the financial assistance was symbolic. It was symbolic of how do we continue to open our hearts and our pocketbooks and our capacity to welcome the suffering that we were experiencing.
Thank you for your words, for your testimony. I'm wondering do you find that the role of leaders has changed during the last 2 years, and why? Do you find your role harder, more difficult, and why?
I would say the most difficult part for me is not to be out and about with our sisters. Many of our retirement centers have been quarantined at different times. We have had bans on travel at different times. Like, for example, right now, we have asked our sisters, our employees, not to travel. And we are in, 10 different countries. I have not left the United States in the last 2 years, which is very, very different than my usual experience. So we have, certainly committed ourselves, like we are this morning, to finding ways of technology to connect. We've used technology for ritualizing the deaths of our sisters, for ritualizing other experiences, other conversations. And that experience certainly has been powerful and a wonderful tool to connect us. And at the same time, it's not the same thing as being face-to-face with our sisters, face-to-face with those who are leading our ministries, face-to-face with our employees who span, the same geography. So we miss the personal touch. We miss the ability to be together. We actually created a new governance structure in this last 2 years and appointed some intermediate type of leaders, 14 of them across our various countries. And we have not been together face to face with those leaders. So we've done all that work on Zoom. So it is a hardship. It's taken our best creativity as well as our best patience and resilience at different times. And I think we've done well with it, but it's not a style that we're accustomed to or that we particularly like. So we're grateful that we have the resources to make it doable, but it's not been certainly our preference.
I think we are all changing, we have been all changed by this experience of COVID. So it's also our responsibility to learn something from this experience,
It is.
also as religious life or lay people. I have a last question about synodality. How do you experience synodality? What's synodality for you as a religious sister?
I love the question because I believe women religious have so much to contribute to the whole sense of synodality. When I think about synodality, I think about inclusion. I think about listening respectfully and with great reverence. I think about the importance of experience and the importance of hearing the voices that are on the margins. And that is what we as Sisters of Mercy and what I believe women religious in general are good at. We accompany those who are at the margins. We walk with them. We listen to their stories. We try to facilitate and to offer them the resources, whether that's education, processes for them to gather, whatever it may be, so that they can be responsible for their own lives and so that they can be empowered to do what it is that they need to do. So when I think of the upcoming Synod of our church, it is the experience of welcoming those at the margin and those who need to be listened to, whether it's from the perspective of issues of racism, issues of sexuality and gender, issues of authority within our church, whatever it may be. And we as women religious set the pace on that, I believe. And so I appreciate the experiences that I have had with, especially, I would say very explicitly, Cardinal Tobin and Cardinal Gregory here in the United States have been very attentive to women religious and very proactive in asking us to be part of these processes as the spirit of synodality grows. So it's a wonderful moment for us as a church. And it is a wonderful moment for us as women religious to do what we do best, welcome voices and listen well to the stories of others, especially those at the margins.
According to your experience, could you please name one category or one group of people that you feel that are on the margins?
In terms of synodality?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Those who are gay and lesbian within our church, within our communities, within our neighborhoods, they are very deeply looking for opportunities to be heard by our church. And this is a moment within our church in which their voices could bless us, could expand our own viewpoints, could provide a wisdom and a source of not only information, but deep insights into the experience of life for them within our church.
Well, thank you very much, Sister Pat. And really the last, it's not a question, it's more an invitation. If you would like just to synthesize in one word or in one sentence, which is your first feeling about the theme of our plenary, which is embracing vulnerability in the synodal world, in the synodal.
Well, I look forward to the work of UISG as we dialogue and engage one another with tender hearts. It is that tenderness that we will offer to each other that will be gift.
Thank you very much and have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.